I'll ask you a few questions.
Right ahead.
So what is your job title for NC
I'm the
State?
Senior Associate Athletic Director in charge of the business operations.
Perfect. Now, what's your background? How'd you get in? How'd you get to where you are today?
It was not a straight road. I came to school here.
Right.
I got my degree mostly at night,
Okay.
which I do not propose because it is a difficult road. Can be done. Got my CPA, worked for a private insurance acquisition company. We bought insurance companies, small ones that were failing, mainly due to not being able to keep up their data centers, which are huge, especially in the insurance industry. We would buy them, repackage them, resell them. It's
Right.
much like the banks gobble each other now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Insurance companies were doing, they still are,
Right.
but they were doing the same thing. Did that for about 15 years. Decided that just wasn't it, and an opportunity came open on campus in the university budget office. So I was the assistant director for the university budget for about 3 years. Then the person in this position left. He was on the I want to be an AD track. I don't want to be an AD.
Right.
So he left to pursue that next step in life to get there. And I was put in this position for an interim period of about 3 to 6 months. Typically when you have high-level CFOs leave or at any financial level, you need to have a good interim period. It's just a control and a safety check to make sure that operations weren't compromised or anything like that. Not that anybody expected it, but it's just kind of commonplace in the industry. So I came over here. I thought they were all crazy. And I was doing this job and my assistant director job. And after a couple, 3 months, I decided this wasn't so bad.
Right.
So I spoke with Les Robinson and ended up staying. So I've been through Les and Lee and now Debbie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's not many of us around
Right.
that are left because it is a very fluid industry, especially at the high management level, because people want to do the AD track.
Right.
And you have to be willing to move around to make that next step.
Yes,
And like
ma'am.
I said, I'm not on the AD track. I was born in Eastern North Carolina and I intend to die right here. So I'm happy.
Now, how long have you been in this current position?
What year is it? It's almost 2015, almost 15 years.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, what are your daily operations, your daily tasks, and your position?
Tate, you want to answer that? Tate's been with me a month. There are no daily tasks. We are responsible for making sure that the coaches and all the support units have what they need when they need it in order to operate. Our primary, we have several primary responsibilities, but we pay all the bills. Now, of course, we audit them, make sure they've been approved and that they fit all the state rules and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
We deposit all the money. Those are the more routine tasks. The bigger tasks that we do, the more important tasks, is we're constantly analyzing our expenditures against our revenue and our budget models to make sure we're going to hit budget at year end. Then, of course, you always have your scenarios. And if you've been keeping up with the industry lately, it's the Wild Wild West as far as what could happen, as far as what rules could be released, and how much money could be spent in college athletics. Now, the rules are going to be released. You can spend it, but nobody's giving you the extra money to spend.
Right.
So how do you reallocate the resources you have to do what everybody wants to do in the new Wild Wild West based on what you have right now?
Yes, ma'am.
So a lot of scenarios, matter of fact, that's one pack of the scenarios, and I have several. So we've got something going most all the time.
Right. I imagine.
Debbie sees the industry probably better than anybody I've ever met.
Really?
Understands it, analyzes it. We've been talking about the potential legislation that's going to come down in January for a year.
Mm.
I hope other athletic departments have been putting as much thought into it.
Yes, ma'am. So I guess you've kind of answered my next question. I guess, the toughest problems with this job?
Not, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the toughest problem with any job.
Right.
You just try to anticipate, but
Yes.
you don't know what you don't know.
Yes, ma'am. So I guess getting away from the problems, what's the lifestyle of this job? I mean, like, besides, how does it affect your, like, outside life of work?
I do not supervise a sport. There are a lot of people in my position across the industry that do supervise sports. I firmly believe in order for me to have an impartial view of everything, I don't need to be responsible for a sport, because no matter how hard you try, you're still going to be more partial to their budget to somebody else. So
Right.
I try to maintain that. I've been doing it 15 years so far. I haven't had a sport stuck to me, so I'm good. I'm in charge of the business operations and IT.
Okay.
Still don't exactly know how I got IT, but they're mine. And they do a fantastic job because I have no idea. Outside of life, I don't have a ton of responsibilities at games and those kinds of things, because once we get the bills paid, we make sure the kids got hotels to stay at, they're going to get fed, and they're going to get transported. We're the front side people.
Right.
We make sure it's going to happen.
Right.
So I don't have a lot of those responsibilities other than to make sure that you have a presence there, you know what's going on, and you need to go, and you need to see what's going on so you know what you're planning for.
Right.
You can't do it in a vacuum.
Right.
It's not a 40-hour-a-week job. It's not a Monday through Friday job.
Sure.
So it can have some time constraints on it, but then again, there's other times that you can be flexible with it. We tend to be a little bit more flexible in the summertime.
Right.
Used to, you had definite seasons. Is it still being
be back in
a
about 30
pain?
minutes.
Okay. Used to, you had definite seasons for soccer.
Right.
Once you play, you're over with, you're done. You might work out a week or so, or you might do this, you might do that. Every sport's year round at this point. There is no seasons anymore.
Right.
We used to, when I first started, we could have a sports medicine staff work with 3 different teams if we scheduled them correctly according to their season. Now it's 1 sports medicine staff per sport because they don't stop. They may not compete,
Right.
but they don't stop.
Yes, ma'am. I know exactly how that is, and it's definitely time consuming.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and I've talked to people when I played at Barton, and they realized that the season was in the fall, and then I told them about the spring season, and they were like, "Wait a minute, y'all play in the fall and spring?" I was like, "Yes, but it doesn't count like towards our record." And they're like, "Well, so what do you play it for?" It's like you gotta get better for the next fall. And it's and in the summer you think you can go home and just hang out, but in order to get better for the fall, you gotta keep improving on what you.
You need to be back on a club team or somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's definitely not many people really understand that.
No.
And
yeah, there's no off season for anybody.
no, ma'am. Do you find this job very rewarding? What if so, what kind of rewards do you?
Oh yeah, I mean, you get any time that you're able to help make someone's dream come true to play in college and to do what they want to do. Yeah, it's cool. I love to see the kids on the field.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I'll sit right out there and watch them, freeze my kabumis off, but I'll sit right out there and watch them.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't want to see them get hurt.
Oh no, ma'am.
That upsets me. And to say that I know every student athlete around here, I do not. Because once you take off your jersey, I don't know who you are.
Right.
We don't have that much interaction with them in this office, but I love watching them play.
Yes, ma'am.
So we try to bend over backwards to make sure we're not a roadblock.
Yes, ma'am. And I know this question can kind of, depending on which track you started out in, but what would be like a starting out salary for this field and like the business side of sport?
If you just wanted to, first of all, I think a good way to come in would be to, find some opportunities where you could come in and work in several different components of athletics. Because again, knowing everything that goes on helps.
Right.
Either that or you come into the business component and you just don't budget in a vacuum. You go to their shop and make sure that you're seeing what they do and ask a lot of questions because you can't do it in a vacuum.
Right.
I would imagine it would be much like any other high level or any other CFO type job. You're going to come in as a staff accountant and then just start working your way up.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's going to depend on which division school you're at.
Right.
If you're at a high level Division 1, the pay is going to be very different than it is going to be at a Division 2.
No, yes, ma'am. I can imagine.
It just
Yes,
is.
ma'am. I knew it was kind of a broad question, but
It is.
yes, ma'am. So I know, if you want to be an AD, you have to bounce around from school to school.
Typically, yes.
Would you say that in the business side, is that the same way? Or could you easily stay, like, let's say you started like really low here at NC State, and could you possibly work your way up?
I think you could, but it may take you longer.
Right.
Sometimes you can cut some of those years off by making those moves.
Right.
Because when you make any move, of course, you're going to go up.
Right.
Whereas you might have to sit 3 years and wait for somebody to retire to do it laterally.
Right.
There's an old saying, sometimes you have to leave to be able to come back.
Of course, ma'am.
And I think it could make it quicker.
Yes, ma'am.
Plus, experiences from several places always helps.
Yes, ma'am. So, last question. What advice would you give to somebody that's thinking about going into the business side of
If you want to
sports?
be in the business side of athletics, it's a very doable field. I think it's a field that will be more needed than in the past. In the past, it was pretty much just keeping up with bookkeeping. Now you're scenarioing,
Yes,
figuring
ma'am.
out what the heck's going to go on next. Because I think we're just on the edge of a lot of these changes. But you're going to have to be willing to move. My daughter is a junior here as well. She transferred in from Wilmington. She was a softball player.
Okay.
Yeah, a lower back injury told her she wasn't doing that anymore. Pretty loudly, actually. So she's an accounting major here in the
Okay.
Poole College of Management. And she wants my job. And she's somewhat of a Eastern North Carolina girl herself.
All right.
Doesn't enjoy the concept of moving, but I have been putting that idea in her head for several years. There's not a ton of D1 schools right around here. Now,
Right.
we do have 3 within 30 miles of each other, but, okay, you're looking at staff accountants and you're looking at my level positions. With 3 schools, you're probably talking 10 to 12 positions, maybe 15. So how many kids are graduating that want to do what you want to do? You're going to have to be willing to relocate
All right.
and go where the jobs are.
Listen.
There's just not, there's not a McDonald's. There's a McDonald's in every corner. There's not a Division I athletic program in every corner.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
Be flexible.
I appreciate
You're
this
welcome.
interview. This is, if I can figure out how to stop this thing.
Now, which school did you go to in Wilson?
Greenfield